The Nile glitters beneath the rising sun. Minarets pierce the sky, merchants open their bustling stalls, soldiers sharpen their steel blades, and Cairo awakens to another day in a kingdom of power and prayer. Yet, centuries ago, this very land was shaken by war, betrayal, and a queen unlike any the world had ever seen. Her name was Shajar al-Durr, a woman born a slave who rose to rule Egypt, defeat crusaders, and carve her name into the throne of sultans. She came from nothing. She rose to everything, and she paid the ultimate price for wearing a crown. This is the story of the slave girl who became a king. No one knows for certain where she was born. Was it the windswept steppes of the Turkic lands? The rugged mountains of Armenia? History doesn't record her first steps, only her arrival in the heart of power, as a concubine, a servant in the opulent palace of the Ayyubid sultans. Her beauty, it is said, first won her attention, but it was her sharp intelligence that won her power. She captivated the ruler of Egypt, Sultan al-Salih Ayyub, and became his wife. In time, she bore him a son, and with that she earned a new name, a name that would echo through the ages, Shajar al-Durr, meaning tree of pearls. But fate had a trial in store for her, a test far harder than any jewel could shine. In the year 1249, the Seventh Crusade thundered into Egypt. Led by King Louis IX of France, their goal was simple and brutal: to crush the heart of Islamic power, seize the lifeblood of the Nile, and dominate the East. As the drums of war shook the land, a private catastrophe struck within the palace walls. The Sultan, the leader of Egypt's defense, fell gravely ill, and then, at the most critical moment imaginable, he died. Shajar al-Durr was now the only person who knew this devastating truth. To reveal his death would mean immediate panic, the collapse of morale, the shattering of the army, and the fall of Egypt. So she made a decision that no woman before her had ever dared to make. She hid the Sultan's death. She concealed his body. She brought him food as if he were still alive, and she forged his signature on official documents. She issued orders in his name, directing generals and moving armies. To the entire world, to the soldiers on the front lines, the Sultan still lived, still breathed, still commanded. And under her secret, iron-willed rule, the Egyptian army rallied. They launched a brilliant counterattack, shattered the Crusader lines, and in a stunning turn of events they captured King Louis IX himself. The slave girl from an unknown land had just defeated one of the most powerful kings in Europe. With victory came the inevitable reality. The truth could no longer be contained. When the Sultan's death was finally revealed, the nobles and commanders gathered, confused and afraid. Who would lead them? The kingdom stood on a knife's edge, and then they did something unprecedented. For the first time in Islamic history, they declared that a woman shall rule Egypt. Shajar al-Durr, the tree of pearls, was named Sultana, the supreme ruler of a mighty kingdom. Imagine that moment. Coins were minted bearing her name. Prayers in mosques across the land were spoken in her honor. For a brief, blinding moment in time, the Nile itself flowed under a woman's crown. The slave had become the sovereign. But power is a throne with knives for legs. Her reign was immediately challenged. Foreign rulers refused to accept a woman as their equal. The powerful Abbasid caliph in Baghdad sent a scathing, mocking letter to the Egyptian court. "Are there not enough men left in Egypt that you must put a woman to rule over you?" Inside the palace, weak-hearted emirs whispered in the shadows. Ambition, like a venomous snake, began to stir. To secure her throne and silence the dissent, Shajar al-Durr made a political move. She married a trusted Mamluk general, a man named Ayyubid, hoping to rule alongside him. But power is a prize that is rarely shared. Soon she learned that Ayyubid was plotting against her. He planned to take another wife, a princess from a rival dynasty, a move that would sideline Shajar al-Durr and steal her crown. She acted first, decisively and ruthlessly. Aybek was murdered in his bath under her orders. But this final, desperate act sealed her own fate. Her enemies, now united against her, closed in. The nobles stormed the palace. Shajar al-Durr, the pearl who once ruled an empire, was cornered. And there, in the halls where she had once commanded kings, she was beaten to death by the servants of her rival, his first wife. Some say with their wooden clogs. Her body was thrown from the high palace walls, left in a ditch. The streets that once bowed to her now fell silent. She was eventually buried in a beautiful tomb she had built for herself years earlier, a monument of love now turned into a marker of tragedy. A slave girl who rose to an empire and paid the price in blood. Shajar al-Durr officially ruled as Sultana for only a few short months, but her impact echoed for centuries. She was the one who held Egypt together. She was the one who defeated the Seventh Crusade, and by placing her Mamluk husband on the throne, she inadvertently opened the path for the Mamluk dynasty, one of the greatest and longest-lasting empires in Islamic history. The world tried to forget her. History, written by men, tried to hide her story between the lines. But the Nile remembers. She was born without a crown, but she earned one through fire, intellect, and unbreakable will. She proved that true power bows not to birthright, but to courage. She rose from the shadows to defy kings and crusaders. If Shajar al-Durr's incredible story shook you, subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll uncover more of the forgotten queens and hidden heroines who dared to rule a world built for men. Thank you for watching.